Six Music.
This is Lauren Laverne.
Well, hello everybody, but especially you. I'm Lauren Laverne. On this week's download, I speak to Thomas Bangalter from Daft Punk about working with Nile Rodgers and why making an album of one-off moments never to be repeated took so long.
BBC Six Music.
You're on BBC Six Music with me, Lauren Laverne. Now, I'm sure, as you're aware, the new Daft Punk album Random Access Memories is about to hit the shelves. 5 years in the making, it features a stellar cast of contributors from Nile Rodgers and Giorgio Moroder to the songwriter Paul Williams. It's one of 2013's most highly anticipated releases, and I'm delighted to say that Daft Punk are on the line from LA right now to tell us more about it. Thomas and Guy-Man, welcome to the show. Hope you're well. Random Access Memories about to be unleashed upon the world. How does it feel?
It feels strange. We feel we were like in a cave or in a studio, locked for a period of two and a half or 3 years, over 5 years. We started working on this record in 2008.
Yeah.
Then we stopped for about a year and a half when we did the score for Tron, and then we started again in 2011 and have been working on this record non-stop for the last 2.5 years or something. So it feels a little bit surreal to finally be done with it, but we're very happy to now be in a position of unleashing the music.
It's a stunning record, absolutely epic, and as you say, quite a long time in the making. Take me back to 2008 when you started on the album. What was the plan then, and how much did it change as you went along?
Well, the plan at the beginning, we were just done with this big a tour that we had done, in 2006 and 2007, and we just wanted to go back in the studio and started working again on music, the two of us. After a few months locked out in the studio, we basically were happy with some of the music writing we're doing, but not really happy with the production itself. We're just working the two of us, and it felt that it didn't have that spark of something different, something new that we wanted. So around at the same time, we got contacted by Disney to do the Tron score, and we decided to leave our project for a while, a little bit, and then jump on this adventure of making music with an orchestra. And after the Tron experience, it felt like we finally had the key of how to make new music together and try to reinvent ourselves, which was the idea of working with an orchestra, but this time working with musicians to create our music and to do it more in a pop format somehow. So we took back some of our demos and some of the ideas that we had started in 2008, and we kind of re-envisioned them with this team of musicians and performers and guests that we somehow put together a little bit like a film crew.
Yes.
When a director has the ability to have the help of an entire crew to transcribe the initial vision of the project, and
Okay.
It was never really at that point an album, but just a musical experiment that turned out to be this record at the end.
And what a cast you've got for this film that you put together. I mean, obviously the kind of headline collaborators, Pharrell on the new single, Nile Rodgers, Giorgio Moroder, but some incredible session musicians as well. I believe you worked with the session musicians who performed on the Thriller album, is that right?
Some performed on Thriller, on some performed on Off the Wall, and a lot of other Quincy Jones records too, but also yes, a lot of the technicians, even the sound engineers, worked with Earth, Wind and Fire or Prince, or they come from that era, which is something that the whole project of this record was not to go back in the past. It was rather try to bring the best timeless quality in the past into the present, and it really felt like there were some things from the past that we felt maybe we're not missing, but we're about to disappear. And it was worth trying to bring that back.
When you talk about the scale of the record, I mean, that's something that might not be able to be repeated in future. You know, albums of this scale aren't often made these days, are they?
They're not really made, but that's the fact of not being able to be repeated is the idea of a special moment or a magical moment, and that's what usually life is. Life is a collection of unrepeatable moments, one after the other. And it's true that technology today makes this concept of recallability easier. You know, you make a track on a laptop, you save, and you reopen your laptop 3 months later, and you can work on it again. And this is a wonderful thing to be able to jump back in a moment and repeat that moment. But maybe it loses somehow this magical quality of something that can happen only once. And that's definitely what this record has been. It was there's these amazing circumstances of being able to put all these people and all these players and all these talented cast together in order to create something very special and unique that can only really happen once.
I was completely blown away by Giorgio Moroder's autobiographical track. I mean, it starts with this incredible kind of spoken word of him talking about his journey through life and through music. Where did the idea for that particular song come from? It just came maybe first with a random encounter with Giorgio that we met while we were making Tron, and really the ability of meeting him face to face and having a little bit more glimpse of intimacy in his life. But also, I think it felt like it was an interesting metaphor for making a song about a musical career, but also about the life journey of someone that innovated a great deal, and also just the idea of a song that is somehow a biography. Seemed pretty far out and original and like a good idea, because we were like, wait, this hasn't really been done before. It must be a cool thing, that we could try to do. After it turned out into this very elaborate, narrative track that was interesting also because that's the kind of special songs on the record that really defines the album. These are not really radio formats, and it felt really interesting to at the same time play with the concept of music that can fit into a song, or hit song you can listen to on the radio, like the new single, for example, "Get Lucky," but also having going back to this kind of tradition of concept albums and of 8 minutes or 9 minute tracks that can only live on an album and redefine what an album can be, which is a collection of album tracks and of single tracks that kind of coexist together in creating this panorama. Absolutely. It's a real album for literate music fans will love it. I did wonder, though, if Nile Rodgers and Giorgio Moroder were mentioned in Teachers. Listening to the new album prompted me to check, but they aren't, I don't think, but I'm imagining that you grew up with their music.
Well, they're above the Teachers. They're the principals or something,
right, okay.
Probably. But yes, I mean, we were always very influenced by Nile and Giorgio at a very early age, and the fun thing to notice is that on Homework, when we did Around the World, this was like doing a chic track, but just doing it with drum machines and synthesizers. The fun thing even, so it felt really like, if you take a song like Around the World or a song like Get Lucky, 16 or 17 years later, this is the same music, but it's just more human replacing machines to do that music. But this is our music. In the same way, when we were touring in '97, we were doing a version on tour live of Around the World with the Midnight Express theme put together, mashed up together. So somehow there's always been this really strong connection between us and these artists. And we met Nile many years ago around the release of Homework or Discovery, and it was amazing to be able to work together after having known each other for 15 years and not really having the opportunity to do so.
He particularly seems like a great fit for this record because it's such an optimistic album. You can hear that all the way through it, you know, lyrically and the sound of it. And obviously that's very much his kind of personality and his particular brand of pop music. How did you tailor the songs to the person? Because I think you can hear that you were doing that when you listen to this album.
It's hard to say. Everything happened really organically, and it's true that we accidentally realized that the most important energy that came out of that record in the end is this idea of optimism that you mentioned, and it's a really strange thing because the time we live in, even for music or music industry or society, are not extremely optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
These are more like somehow pessimistic or cynical times. But the fact of having created maybe that timeless bubble during the creation and putting all these people together and watching flourish this spontaneous enthusiasm that was so special, coming from everyone involved, maybe became how this optimism emerged, somehow in a very unexpected way, and also just because yes, we were crafting this kind of timeless bubble, and inside that bubble we invited all these people, and we almost like pretended like everything is fine and let's just have a good time making music. And when you pretend to be like that at the end, people started probably we all started to believe it, and that's that kind of energy that's on the record somehow.
You recently said that EDM's having an identity crisis, and that is part of your decision to leave the kind of machines behind, to leave the technology behind, and kind of use analog instruments and stuff on this album. Would you consider returning to more electronic elements and samplers and sequences next time, maybe?
Of course, I think maybe the problem with this identity crisis that we're describing is the predominance of computers in the music making. We've never made music with computers. We've made them with electronic instruments, which are a discrete assortment of different components, whether it's an old synthesizer or drum machines or samplers, like you mentioned. And by combining those discrete analog components next to each other, we built a certain kit and had a certain sound. The way that computers have taken over in the music making, and it's something we tried to make music with computers a few years ago, and we couldn't really, except from using them as a notebook for some ideas. But the main problem was that the computers are making it probably much easier to make the music, but they have already somehow a preset kit that's really easy to, or that makes you somehow, they can make people quite lazy to not search and for their distinctive kit, and that's this preset kit that makes it really hard to define your own identity as an artist. So the computers, we feel they're much more to blame rather than the musicians or the producers themselves, because in some sense it's the exact same tool and same kit for everybody, and it tends to create a certain norm in sound where it becomes really hard for the human element inside that inside that of formatted technology, because we still love technology, but in the way of trying to use it in different ways, it's really hard to define a certain personality, and in the end the record tend to all sound the same, and the artists that are making them are kind of buried behind those layers, and it's really hard to make their voice. But we're not saying when we said that the electronic or the computers as tools are not interesting to make music, and that we should do it otherwise. We really felt that we wanted to work with older techniques just in order to try to have a voice and a more something more distinctively heard without all these layers of technology in the way at a certain time, you know.
And something where there's room for idiosyncrasy and sort of little odd moments and strangeness. What about the live show? Will you be touring? Will you be bringing your live show to the UK? Everybody here is desperate for you to come over and play.
We're not touring right now. I feel, you know, we basically really worked a long time on this record to try to bring as much life to it that we could, and we really, you know, we've always taken things one step at a time, and making this record was a big step for us, and going on tour, defining what the future of what we would do live would be another big one. But we just don't want to do it concurrently, because we feel like there's one of these concepts of this record is to see whether there's this ability to still create ambitious record and have the time to make these records, and people have the time to listen to it, despite this kind of frenetic world we live in, where people will always want the next thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the live show might be down the line something happening, but there's no plans right now, because we just put all our energy and focus into the music, and that's what we want somehow our audience to be able to do too.
There's a huge feeling of expectation around the album. Are you enjoying that, or is there part of you that feels a little nervous? Obviously, you're going to want people to love it as much as you guys do.
Well, we'll see. We're not really nervous about that. I think we worked way too long in a way that the way we were nervous probably was to know if we could achieve what we aimed for, and it took those 4 or 5 years total to come up to a point where we felt good about the music and we felt ready to be able to share it with people. At the same time, we didn't really have expectations, because we really felt when we were making this record, this bubble that we created, and then when we were opening up to the world and turning the radio and listening what's around there, that there was such a big offset or such a big gap between the music that we were doing and the music that's here right now in the world, that we didn't really know what to expect. I mean, it's very surprising and very pleasing to us to feel like the first single, for example, Get Lucky, has traveled around the world so far and seems to be received with a great deal of the same enthusiasm that we shared, despite the fact that this is not really the music that was being played on the radio a few weeks ago. Well, so that's surprising, and we're happy about that.
Well, we absolutely love it here at Six Music. I've just got a couple of listener questions for you, quick ones if you wouldn't mind. Richard Foster says, "This has bugged me for 20 years. How did Charles, the dog from the defunct video, break his leg?"
Well, you should ask Spike Jones. Spike Jones is Charles' real father. We're just the godfathers. So we can't really say. We came in a little bit later.
Okay, Nick Freer says, "Have you ever thought about letting Iron Man join the band? Great mask, party lifestyle. He'd be the perfect choice." Yeah,
except he doesn't really play bass that well. So we wish we auditioned him, but the Silver Surfer was a better bongo player.
Thank you so much for talking to me today. It's an absolute pleasure. We love the record. Best of luck with it, and we hope we see you here in the UK soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.